Thank you for joining me, Diana Master, on NMH at 1, where we highlight the news making waves in Namibia and beyond, ranging from current affairs, community stories, sports and economic news. Coming up in this broadcast, Cabinet rejects Itope for CPBN top spot. Mbumba urges Swapo to put citizens first, and Amushelelo Nauyoma sue police and Prosecutor General for $10 million Namibian dollars. Follow all our programs on 102.com or DSTV channel 285 and GoTV channel 25 in Namibia. Don't go anywhere, midday news update coming your way. Residents from Katima Mulilo have gathered for the Independence Day activation at the Katima Mulilo Open Market. The activation aims to create awareness about the Independence celebration, which will take place tomorrow at the Katima Mulilo Sports Complex. The activation features various cultural performances.
Check, 1, 2, 3. Silent, move. Silent. Exercise. Yes. Check 1, 2. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3.
Stay with us for visual news highlights local stories from across Namibia right after the break. And now getting into our visual news. Many Namibians have followed Zimbabwean farmer and activist Ben Freeth's ride from Zimbabwe to Windhoek over the past few weeks. Yesterday, after 2,000 kilometers on horseback, he handed over his petition to the SADC tribunal to have him reinstated. Eliana Marie van der Walt has more.
Finally, I can be here on the steps where I was last on the 28th of November 2008, 15 years ago, where we got an amazing judgment from this tribunal saying that we were allowed to stay in our home, that we were allowed to carry on farming, that we would be protected by the police. But unfortunately, that did not happen. And we had terrible things that took place after the 28th of November 2008. We had people come to our house and surround our house and threaten our workers with guns and stopped our workers from being allowed to work. And then they went ahead and they stole all the crops and they killed all the animals. And eventually they beat up a lot of our workers. Some of our workers, one of them got a fractured skull, I remember, another had broken feet. They had a terrible time, and we had a terrible time. And I thank God that my daughter is here. Anna, come here. Anna was very young at the time. She's still quite young. And I remember one night they broke through the doors of our house and they lit fires all the way around our house.
In our next video, Tosca Sem, the new executive director at Namibia Civil Aviation Authority, gives context to the results of the just concluded audit conducted by the International Civil Aviation Organization. Here's a video by Jemima Biekas.
The principles and fundamentals of the aviation industry, and that is embedded in the Civil Aviation Act number 6 of 2016. Secondly is CE2, which speaks to the specific operating regulations. The operating regulations are obviously the different regulations in the different audit areas, and most aviators have been fundamental to the establishment of these regulations. CE3 speaks to the state system and function. How does the Namibia Civil Aviation System functions? Which basically speaks to the formation and the autonomous and the establishment of the Namibia Civil Aviation Authority as an autonomous body to have oversight over safety and security, at the same time also providing air navigation services. CE4, we are talking to the qualified technical personnel. Aviation is a very regulated industry, and the inspectors, all aviation personnel, are expected to go compliance training, refresher training, and continuous development in terms of their training. CE5, in terms of our operations, the inspectors are expected to have technical guidance materials, tools and provisions of safety, critical information. These documentations serves as a guide on how the inspectorate basically conduct the oversight capability. So with the establishment, most of these areas are pinning to the Civil Aviation Authority, and we are expected to ensure that critical element number 1 up to 5 is embedded in our key operations as a civil aviation organization.
And closing off our visual news segment, makeshift Rundu-based Ndama East Primary School recently received a generous donation of educational booklets from the African Child Development Trust. The donation included 200 Rukangwali and 250 Rumanyo pre-primary books. The school spokesperson Paula Sindumba extended a word of gratitude towards the trust for its generous donation. This video is courtesy of Nikano Nangolo.
First of all, I would like to thank the Organization of African Child Development Trust, which has demonstrated its ability and courage to donate some benches of teaching aid, specifically for the pre-primary level. So we managed to receive them. We would like to say thank you for your solidarity and the spirit of togetherness that you have demonstrated on the ground. Therefore, we still call upon all donors who are willing to donate, either in forms of chairs, either in forms of tables, in forms of water tanks, because we don't have water here. These kids are carrying water from their houses, either in forms of books. If you still have some books that you need to donate to this school, you are more than welcome. And your donation, your togetherness can't be underestimated. We still keep you in history. We thank you, and we still call upon everyone who is seeing this, more specifically the public and the government itself at large. Still, we have 450 learners here, and these learners are sitting on logs. They don't have chairs, they don't have desk, and they don't have permanent structure, which is supposed to be a conducive environment for them. Upon the government still to look upon them by giving them tents. If there are some tents that you keep in your storerooms, please give those tents to these learners. They need them.
Now, after the break, the Namibian Sun leads us into our newspaper review segment. Don't go anywhere.
Hi, Sonia.
Hi, Tufeni. What are you reading?
I'm reading about the Child Care and Protection Act. In this pamphlet I got from school.
What's that?
It is Namibia's main law for the children and the issues affecting them. The Act classifies here that a child is anyone under the age of 18 years. Check out some of the rights meant to protect you. For more information, contact the Children's Advocate.
For more information, contact the Children's Advocate Namibia in the Office of the Ombudsman on 061 20 73 111. Send us an SMS on 20401. SMS costs 40 cents. You can also send us a message via our Facebook page. Remember, the services of the Children's Advocate are free of charge.
Thank you for staying with NMH at 1. We now take a look at what the lead stories are in Namibia's daily newspapers. The Namibian Sun reports that Finance and Public Enterprises Minister Mbumba has been instructed to revisit a recruitment process to appoint a new CEO for the Central Procurement Board of Namibia after Cabinet raised questions about how Itope was picked for the job. On page 3, the ongoing leadership squabbles at the National Youth Council, which led to the suspicion of Director Calista Schwarz-Roasses, are unfortunate because NYC is no place for politics, the Landless People's Movement Youth Command Leader Dumingandala said. Now, on the front page of the Republican, President Mbumba says heads of state should be focused on placing the needs of their citizenry ahead of that of their political parties. He made the remarks during an interview with the South African Broadcasting Corporation while on a working visit to meet South African President Cyril Ramaphosa in Pretoria. On page 3, the Namibian Association of Medical Aid Funds may not charge tariffs from suppliers of health services for outreach or annual renewal of their practice numbers. The Namibia Private Practitioners Forum already informed NAMAF 10 years ago in February 2014 that the association has no right to charge these rates. Now, on its front page, the Allgemeine Zeitung reports that poaching figures in Southern Africa are on the rise and concern for endangered species such as the rhino is growing. The business around anti-poaching units in Namibia is flourishing and developments are increasingly moving towards privatized and increasingly militarized ranger work. On page 3, the Secretary General of the Namibian National Teachers Union, Lloyd Shanika, is concerned about the increasing cases and reports of corporal punishment in schools. The NANTO office received reports of 56 cases of corporal punishment last year and 18 cases this year. Shanika recently issued an external memo on corporal punishment of students, warning all NANTO members and teachers in general against practicing corporal punishment in schools. That brings us to the end of our first half of our newspaper review segment. After the break, we continue with the second half.
Neo Paints has established a 67-year Namibian legacy, creating personalized paint solutions that blend quality and innovation for the Namibian people. We pride ourselves in being a 100% Namibian-owned company, investing in our country and our people by employing and empowering true Namibians. With every brushstroke, Neo Paints commits to our quality guarantee and always delivering a coat of excellence. At Neo Paints, we always stay true to our country. We are as Namibian as you.
Getting into the second half of our newspaper review segment, the Namibian newspaper reports that members of the Representative Council of the National Youth Council have called for the dismissal of the entire NYC board and executive chairperson, saying they're failing the youth and not carrying out their mandate. This comes after an RC meeting of the NYC was called off last week as a result of infighting among attendees and the organization's leaders. On page 3, Landless People's Movement National Spokesperson Lifalaza Simata described the suspension of the Karasburg Town Council's councillors as sabotage. He says it involves the abuse of power and authority by the Minister of Urban and Rural Development, Erastus Utoni's office. Simata says the councillors are currently awaiting the court's decision on them allegedly irregularly changing banking signatory powers, marking illegal appointments, misusing the council's vehicle assigned to Karasburg Mayor Maria Veldskoen, and awarding tenders. Utoni has suspended the entire council. Now, the New Era's lead story reports that Cabinet Secretary George Samata maintains that the academic and erstwhile Namibia Institute of Public Management executive director left the institute on mutual grounds and was not pushed as purported. Samata made these remarks during an interview with this reporter while responding to a topic that has seemingly refused to die in the public space. The interview took place in Samata's first-floor office in the office of the Prime Minister. It was the same office where he and Disho agreed on mutual grounds that the outspoken academic part ways with NIPAM, Samata recalls. And on the paper's page 3, Engel Navatiseb's brief stint outside Swapo has ended with the former Deputy Minister of Information and Communication Technology returning after he had left the party last month. Navatiseb joined the Landless People's Movement but only stayed for a month. He confirmed his return to this publication yesterday, stating that he has now officially returned to Swapo. The Market Watch reports that Andrada Mining's Oistin Mining Company has entered into a conditional credit-approved funding agreement of 175 million Namibian dollars with Bank Windhoek, the African technology metals mining company said yesterday. Andrada wants to expand production at ACE to up to 2,000 tons per annum. The agreement with Bank Windhoek entails, among others, a conditional term sheet for a term loan of 100 million Namibian dollars over 6 years, as well as the refinancing of Andrada's working capital facilities totaling 50 million Namibian dollars. Bank Windhoek will furthermore provide short-term loan facilities of 15 million Namibian dollars to Andrada as cash flow against future value-added tax payments. The bank will also provide Andrada with a guarantee of 10 million Namibian dollars to NamPower for a deposit for the right to supply electricity. Now, after the break, we get into our economic news, so stay tuned.
Hello and welcome to today's Sports Rep Show.
I am your host, Jesse Jackson Kauraifa. In replay, Namibia, who had won the toss for the first time on this tour.
Good day everyone, time for international sports news, starting off with tennis news, both on the WTA for women's and
In economic news this afternoon, the Bank of Namibia was named the overall winner in the transparency category at the annual Central Banking Awards. The Bank of Namibia was recognized for its efforts in broadening the reach and depth of its monetary policy communications and enhancing transparency in the execution of its price stability mandate, the central bank said in a statement. Now let's take a look at the economic indicators just before we get into African news. The Namibian dollar trades at 23.97 against the British pound, 20.49 against the euro, 18.91 to the US dollar, and 2 Namibian dollars and 63 cents buys you 1 Chinese yuan. First Rand Namibia Limited stocks took a dip of 0.50%, while Itego Holdings Limited and Namibia Breweries Limited took upturns of 2.50 and 0.03% respectively. Local index closed on an upturn of 0.12%, while overall index closed on a dip of 0.05%. All commodities are down save for platinum, which took an upturn of 0.10%, now trading at $894.09 per ounce. We now expand beyond Namibia's borders to give you the latest news from the African continent here on NMH at 1. South African investigators raided the home of National Assembly Speaker Nosiviwe Mapisa-Nqakula on Tuesday as part of a corruption inquiry against her, the parliament said. The operation by the National Prosecution Authority Investigating Directorate was linked to a probe into alleged corruption during the Speaker's time as Defence Minister, parliament said in a statement. South Africa's state-owned broadcaster SABC reported that Mapisa-Nqakula, who lives in Johannesburg, is suspected of receiving millions of rands in cash as bribes from a former military contractor when she was Defence Minister. Stick around. Right after this, we bring you into Now, at least 12 miners have been killed in a gas explosion at a coal pit in Pakistan's southwestern province of Balochistan. The explosion at the private pit in Harnai in the mining region of Khost occurred late on Tuesday, leaving workers trapped about 240 meters underground in the subsequent cave-in. Rescuers worked overnight recovering the bodies of the 12 miners by Wednesday. 8 people attempting to rescue their colleagues were also trapped for several hours. They were later brought to safety, some of them unconscious, by a government rescue team. Abdullah Shawani, Balochistan's Director General of Mining, confirmed the death toll on Wednesday, saying the incident was caused by methane gas, a common cause of accidents in the coal-rich western areas of Pakistan. Initially, it was thought that there were only 10 miners trapped when the mine, located about 80 kilometers east of the provincial capital Quetta, collapsed. Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif expressed profound sorrow and grief over the loss of precious lives. Right after this, we get into our local and international sports news. With bows drawn and aims set high, the Archery Association of Namibia proudly sent 6 of its finest archers to Johannesburg for the 74th South African National Championship, combined with the 2nd African Southern Regional Championship. This weekend is set to mark a historic moment in Namibia's rhythmic gymnastics as the much-awaited inaugural Oribi International Cup is presented. The Wanderers Closed Squash Championship lit up the course of Wanderers Squash Club last weekend with fierce competition and remarkable talent on display. And right after this, we bring you international sports news. Israel's footballers are aiming to make history by reaching the European Championship for the first time amid the ongoing conflict in the Middle East, with the final 3 places at Euro 2024 up for grabs over the next week. South Africa will look to build on their promising showing at the recent Africa Cup of Nations when they face Andorra in a FIFA Series international friendly set for start due 19 May 1956 in Annaba, Algeria on the evening of Thursday, the 21st of March. And closing off our international sports, more than 14,000 women will take to the streets of Cape Town on Sunday for the Spa Women's Challenge, incorporating the Spa Grand Prix at the Greenpoint Stadium precedent. If you're just joining us, this is NMH at 1, and we'll get into the highlights from today's broadcast right after this. You're still with NMH at 1 for those of you that are just joining us, or for those of you that need a quick recap, let's take a look at today's highlights. South African investigators raided the home of National Assembly Speaker Nosiviwe Mapisa-Nqakula on Tuesday as part of a corruption inquiry against her, the parliament said. At least 12 miners have been killed in a gas explosion at a coal pit in Pakistan's southwestern province of Balochistan. The explosion at the private pit in Harnai in the mining region of Khost occurred late on Tuesday. And in local sports, this weekend is set to mark a historic moment in Namibia's rhythmic gymnastics as the much-awaited inaugural Oribi International Cup is presented. Those have been your highlights. Remember to tune in every weekday at 1 p.m. to spend your lunch hour with NMH at 1, catching up on the latest news in Namibia and beyond. From all of us in studio, happy pre-independence celebration.